Very good morning, dear students. Today we are going to continue the same autobiography, that is Long Walk to Freedom. This autobiography has been written by Nelson Mandela, and in our last one class we have seen that Nelson Mandela had mentioned in his autobiography the meaning of freedom for him as a child, as a boy. There he says, as a boy, freedom means every way that he had when he was a boy. Yes, to roam around the hut of his mother, swim in the clear stream that flows through the village. For him, freedom means just to roast maize under the stars. So these were the concepts of him. Yes, these were the concepts of freedom of him as a child, as a boy. But later on, when he became young, he understood the real meaning of freedom, or what is freedom means. As a child, it was okay for him. What is freedom? Yes, that time he was just a child, not able to think the broad concept, or he was unable to understand what was happening around him. But then let's see what happened later on and how he got involved into the freedom movement. Yes, or the movement for freedom. Yes, how? Let's see. There he says, it was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. As I told you, boyhood freedom. Yes, boyhood freedom. And we have already seen the meaning of boyhood freedom for him. As we have seen, it was run into the field near his mother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through his village, free to roast maize under the stars, ride the broad backs of slow moving bulls. So these activities, free to do these activities, was a freedom for him as a boy. Yes, and that part we have already done in our previous class. But here what happened, look at there, it was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. And there in the next stanza he said, next para he said, this boyhood freedom that he learned or that he knew was an illusion. Yes, illusion. Illusion means what? Something that appears to be real but not real. बट नॉट रियल, लेकिन वो रियल नहीं होता है, अपीयर्स होता है, मतलब एक भ्रम, भ्रांति जिसे हम कहते हैं. सो हियर दैट बॉयहुड फ्रीडम दैट ही वाज हैविंग was an illusion, and he learned, he began to learn that the boyhood freedom was an illusion. Then let's see what happens later on after realization. Yes, look at there, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me. Yes, he discovered when he became young. Yes, when I discovered as a young man, it was about boyhood. Then when he became young, so he discovered that his freedom had been already taken away, from him. इससे तो ऑलरेडी इसका जो फ्रीडम है वो छीन लिया गया है. And when he became young, that time he discovered. Yes, he discovered that his freedom has been taken away. Yes, and then what happened, look at there, that I began to hunger for it. And when he discovered that, then he began to hunger for it. Means then he began to fight against the oppression of the whites. Then he began to fight against the humiliation of the blacks. Yes, so then he began to fight against the sufferings the blacks were having. Then after the discovery of the truth, after the realization of the truth that his freedom had already been taken away. Yes, it had already been taken away. When he discovered, then a hunger he had for freedom. Hunger for freedom. उसके बाद इसके मन में स्वतंत्रता के लिए भूख निर्माण हुई. एंड देन देखो क्या होता है. एट फर्स्ट एज अ स्टूडेंट अब बता रहे हैं कि आई वॉन्टेड फ्रीडम ओनली फॉर माई सेल्फ. बट एज अ स्टूडेंट, अब इसमें भी देखो एज है, उसके बाद एज अ स्टूडेंट. यस, एज अ स्टूडेंट ही वॉन्टेड फ्रीडम जस्ट फॉर हिमसेल्फ. ओके, for himself only. As a student, as a boy, he had freedom, he thought, which was an illusion only. Okay, later on when he became young, then he thought about, or he realized that his freedom had been taken away. So then as a student he wanted freedom for himself. अब वो भी देखो किस प्रकार के, for himself. The transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased and go where I chose. So these three types of freedom he wanted as a student. Okay, and these just for him only, सिर्फ अपने आप के लिए. And look at what are these. At first as a student I wanted freedom only for myself. That means he wanted freedom just for himself. And what are these? The transitory means not permanent, transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night. Look at that. What kind of freedoms he wanted? What kind of freedoms he wanted as a student? First one is to stay out at night. First one freedom he wanted. Second one, there he said he should be free to read what pleased him. Yes, what pleased him. Okay, means what pleased him means जो भी उसको अच्छा लगे वही उसको पढ़ने का स्वतंत्र होना चाहिए. Then the next one is to go wherever or where he choose. So these three freedoms, these three types of freedoms he wanted as a student. To stay out at night, to read whatever or what pleased him, then to go where he chose, जहाँ भी वो चाहे वहाँ जा सके, जो चाहे वो पढ़ सके और बाहर में भी रातों में घूम सके. So these freedoms he wanted as a student. Okay, the very important thing is as a student. Okay, as a student he wanted these things. And then later as a young man. Okay, then when he became young, as a young man in Johannesburg, I aim for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. Then look at that. Here the concept of freedom became broader and broader as he became younger. जैसे जैसे वो यंग होते गया, उम्र बढ़ती गई, so the concept of freedom was also change. जो फ्रीडम का कंसेप्ट है वो भी चेंज होते गया. As a boy, the freedom was just to run around the hut, swim in the river, ride on the bull, And then fourth one was just rose the melees under the sky. So these were just freedom for him as a boy. Then as a student he wanted these three things as a freedom. Then when he became young, okay, make the list. Okay, list banana jaruri hai. As a boy, as a student, then as a young man, as a young man. Okay, अब young man के तौर पे उनको क्या क्या freedom चाहिए थे. As a young man in Johannesburg, he in for the basic and honorable freedoms. Basic and honorable freedoms. Okay, done this one. Understood? As a student, these three things he wanted. Okay, or these types of freedom he wanted. Later on, when he became young, let's see. अब young बनने के बाद उन्हें क्या चाहिए था? Okay, he wanted basic and honorable freedoms. Okay, basic and honorable. As a young man. Okay, as a young man, what are the things he wanted? Basic and honorable. Basic and honorable freedoms he wanted. Okay, and what are the basic and honorable freedoms? The list is given there. First one is achieve his potential. First one is achieve his potential. First one, freedom. Second one, earning my keep. Earn his keep. Then third one is marry and have family. Marry and have a family. So these were the three things he wanted as a young man. And there he called them the basic and honorable freedoms. Basic and honorable freedoms. Actually, yes, it is basic. Okay, to earn his keep. जाहिर सी बात है कि अपने चीज़ें खरीदना हो या कुछ करना हो बिलोंगिंग्स के लिए we must earn. Yes, अर्निंग का फ्रीडम होना चाहिए, लिबर्टी होनी चाहिए to earn more. Yes. Secondly, it says achieve his potential. Whatever the potential capabilities he is having, he should achieve it. अपने पोटेंशियल के हिसाब से या अपने पोटेंशियल जो भी एबिलिटी है उसको अचीव करना. That is also basic and honorable, you can say again. Again, marry and have a family. Marry and have a family. So these are the basics and honorable freedoms that he wanted as a young man. As a young man. Okay. Remember guys, as a boy, as a student and as a young man, the different concepts are there of freedom for him. Okay, as a boy we have seen, as a student we have seen. Now look at there, as a young man, what did he say about it? What are the things that he wanted and to what he considered a freedom? Yes, so we should remember this. Then so here these are the list of the freedom that he wanted at the various stages of his life. Okay, now let's see what he said about that. The freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. And this freedom he wanted should not be obstructed. जिनमें किसी प्रकार का obstruction नहीं होना चाहिए, disturbance नहीं होना चाहिए. He wanted such liberty, freedom as a young man. Okay, understood? As a boy, as a student and as a young man. Okay, later on, look at there what is given. But then I slowly. Okay, और यहाँ इसके बाद और बता रहे कि यहाँ तक तो ठीक था. But later on what happened? Later on, then he slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. But later on, as a young man, he got all those. Yes, but later on in further life, what happened there? He realized that he was not the only person, but all his people are deprived of liberty and freedom. Yes, it is given there. But then I slowly saw that not only was I, सिर्फ मैं ही नहीं, I am not the only, or I was not the only, but also my brothers and sisters were not free. My brothers and sisters. So here the words brothers and sisters are actually mentioned or referred to the black skinned peoples. Okay, so there he said, after that, after getting these freedoms as a young man, then he realized that he was not the only person who was deprived of these, but also there are many, the blacks, the brothers and sisters are also deprived of freedom. Yes, then I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. Then he realized not only of his freedom was curtailed. Curtailed means reduced, काटा गया था. सिर्फ इनका ही नहीं, but also of all the people who just look like him, जो बिल्कुल इनके तरह दिखते थे. That means actually this sentence is referred to the blacks. Means the freedom of all the blacks was curtailed, cut down. Yes, so there he realized, look at there, I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked I did. Looked I did means जैसे मैं दिखता हूँ उस प्रकार के दिखने वाले सारे व्यक्तियों के फ्रीडम कट कर दिए गए थे. And that is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when then the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. And there she said, that is then means thereafter the realization that not only of my freedom but also of everyone who looked like him, the freedom of everyone was curtailed. Not only of him, but of all people look like him. Yes? So there he says, after the realization of the fact, after the realization of the truth, the black side of the black people, then he joined the African National Congress. African National Congress. Then he joined it. Yes. When after the realization of the fact that not only of his freedom is curtailed, but also of every person who looked like him. When he realized it, then he joined the African National Congress, and thereafter the hunger for him only, the hunger for his freedom only became the greater hunger for the freedom of his people. Up to here we have seen, up to the young man. जब तक वो young man हुए थे तब तक he was thinking that he just wanted freedom for himself. उसको सिर्फ खुद के लिए फ्रीडम चाहिए था. बट देन ही रियलाइज्ड दैट नॉट ओनली ऑफ हिज freedom was curtailed, but also of everyone who looked like him. Then he joined that party, and the concept or the demand for his freedom now became, or that hunger for his own freedom became hunger for the freedom of everyone, of his people, the blacks. There he says, it was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life. And look at that, the desire. It was this desire. ये वही desire है for the freedom of my people. मेरे लोगों के स्वातंत्र्य के लिए, to live their lives with dignity. So what was the desire? That question can be asked there. एक question पूछा जाता है कि what was the desire of him? So it is the desire for the freedom of his people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect. Yes, desire. Okay, that question can be again there after joining the National Congress. What was the desire he had? So it was freedom for his people. Yes, freedom for his people to live their lives with dignity. Okay, it is most important. Okay, dignity and self-respect. This is the desire he had. Okay, so you must know what was the desire he had after joining the African National Congress, and it is this one. Yes, then here he says that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, and then he talked about the result, the effect of the desire in him. उसमें जो चेंजेस आए, किनमें? नेल्सन मंडेला इनमें जो चेंजेस आए ड्यू टू द डिजायर, इट इज मेंशन्ड लेटर ऑन, एंड दैट पार्ट we will see in our next video lecture. Okay guys, so see you soon. Bye bye. Keep watching my videos and enjoy the classes. Bye bye.